our ongoing series of Shamile Muhammadia, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, the features and the characteristics of the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Today, inshallah, we are going to start chapter number 32, and the previous chapter that we've covered was about the sharab of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, meaning the description of the drinks of the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. The Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, the things that Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam drank. Now this chapter is fi sifati shurbi Rasulillah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. So sharab and shurb. Sharab are the drinks which Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam drank, and shurb is the manner in which Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam drank. So this chapter is going to give us description that how the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam drank. And this chapter is a very interesting chapter because there are many confusions. Did Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam sit down and drink? Did he ever stood up and drink? Is it okay to stand up and drink? When it is okay to stand up and drink? When it is not okay to stand up and drink? All these questions, inshallah ar-Rahman, at the end of the chapter, once we cover the whole chapter, inshallah ar-Rahman, all the confusion will be gone, inshallah ar-Rahman. The whole details are going to be mentioned here. Now, one other thing that we will understand from this chapter is, like we've learned previously about the clothing of Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam, about the food of Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam, that Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam never insisted upon one food. Whatever was presented before him, he ate it or he wore it, alhamdulillah. But sometimes even meat was brought, sometimes barbecue, sometimes steaks were brought, right? So he enjoyed it, but not very often. Very few times, but he ate it. So it's not against the zuhud. It's not against the zuhud to have these types of food once in a while. But the problem comes when you cannot resist this food and you insist upon such food. Only thing I'm gonna have is steaks every day or every other day. Only thing that I'm gonna have is burger, for example, right? So one thing we understand that this how Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam was. Now here about shurb Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam and sharab, we've understood that Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam drank many things. Water, it was hal al-barid, and one of the types of water that he loved was pure water and sweet water and cold water. Because everyone knows that Arab is the heat, right? And if it is 100 plus, then if you drink warm water, it won't affect, it won't quench their thirst. So you like and you love cold water. So Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam also loved that cold water, as we've understood in the previous chapter. Now, there are things that he said that don't do, and there are things that he said that you can do. So this chapter is going to give us, inshallah, some understanding. We'll recite the hadith for the transmission purposes, and then we're going to translate and some explanation, inshallah. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. وبالسند المتصل منا إلى الإمام الترمذي رحمه الله تعالى ومتعنا بعلومه وبركاته آمين. قال: باب ما جاء في صفة شرب رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم. وبه قال حدثنا أحمد بن مني قال حدثنا هشيم قال أنبأنا عاصم الأحول ومغيرة عن الشعبي عن ابن عباس رضي الله تعالى عنهما وعنهم أن النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم شرب من زمزم وهو قائم. The first hadith is narrated by Shamile, and Shamile is a very famous tabi'i. A tabi'i is someone that who saw Sahabi in the state of Islam and passed away upon Islam. The hadith is narrated by Ibn Abbas, and Ibn Abbas, he is the cousin of Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and his name is Abdullah, known as Ibn Abbas. Ibn Abbas, radiyallahu ta'ala anhu, he narrates that indeed the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam drank, shariba, he drank, min zamzam, zamzam water, wa huwa qa'im, while he was standing. And most likely this happened on Hajjat al-Wada, because other hadiths indicates upon it. This happened on Hajjat al-Wada. Hajjat al-Wada is the farewell Hajj of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Now another point is this hadith is sahih. Yesterday we were discussing, right? The brother was asking, so he was saying that Sahih Hadith we learn. So many times you learn Sahih Hadith, but that's not the Sunnah. Okay? That's not the Sunnah. So that's only one Hadith, and particularly, perhaps that particular moment was because of an excuse, because of some other obstacles. So that was not normal thing. So you have to reconcile in between many ahadiths and you figure out the hukum, and this is what the fuqaha does. The muhaddithin, their job is to authenticate the hadith, to figure out if there any weak narrator in it or no. So depending upon that narration and the transmission, they label that hadith as sahih, weak, etc. The fuqaha, their job is to derive the ahkamat, the orders. Is it sunnah, is it wajib, it is fard, is it mustahab, is it makruh, is it what type of makruh that is, it is haram, why? And why? The illah and the reasoning. And so their job is much tougher. Anyhow, this hadith, right? And this tells us what? He stood up and drank zamzam. There is another hadith in Muslim, sahih. This hadith is sahih. That hadith is sahih. That hadith goes, Naha anna Rasulullah sallallahu naha ani shurbi qa'iman. Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam prohibited from standing and drinking. That's another hadith. Now a common person, he reads one hadith and he reads another hadith, now he's confused. This is where the fuqaha comes. This is why it is recommended that you should follow an imam, and by imam we mean mujtahid. Mujtahid, that's very essential and necessary for a layman, for a common person, because you don't know the reasoning, which one do I prefer, how do I give tarjih to one over the other, how do I favor one hadith over the other, I have no knowledge. So if I do so, I'll be taking one and leaving without any reasoning the other one. This is not allowed. So, anyhow, this is one hadith. Now there's another hadith also mentioned in Muslim. And look at the severity of this hadith. This hadith is narrated by Abu Hurairah radiyallahu ta'ala anhu. لا يشربن أحدكم. Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam says, لا يشربن أحدكم قائما فَمَنْ نَسْيَ فَلْيَسْتَقِمْ. Look at these words. Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam says, no one should ever drink while standing. And if he forgets and he drank while standing, he should vomit. This is another hadith. Now, this hadith you learn that Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam drank while he was standing. The other hadith says he is prohibiting, and look at these words, he should vomit. How do we reconcile? Which one do we take? Which one do we leave? Now also, ulama, now look, this is technical. Now when there is contradiction, and remember this contradiction is always apparent contradiction, okay? It's not literally there is contradiction, but because of our understanding, apparently we see contradiction. So, the fuqaha and ulama, what they do is, first of all, if they see contradiction, they try to do tatbiq. And tatbiq means to reconcile in between them. That's the first option and that's the best. Because when you reconcile, you're not leaving any hadith. You're acting upon all of the hadiths. But the second and the last option is one is going to be nasikh and the other one is going to be mansukh. The other hadith will be abrogated by the other hadith, and there will be also some reasoning. And most likely it is the date. Which one was before and which one is after. Depending upon the date, then whatever Prophet ﷺ's action was the last, this one will become nasikh and the previous one will become mansukh. Now some of the ulama here mentions that actually this nahi, which is prohibition, is abrogated because of the amal of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. However, this is one opinion, but when you take this opinion, you're leaving something and you're taking something, right? So other ulama and jumhur say no, we reconcile in between them. There are some occasions that perhaps it is allowed to drink while standing, and commonly, normally, you should sit down and drink. That's the sunnah of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. As they mentioned, كان النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم يشرب غالبا قاعدا. Most of the time, Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, he would sit and drink. وَقَدْ شَرِبَ مَرَّةً قَائِمًا. Once in a while, he also drank while he was standing. So that's also okay. Now, also, one side we have clear prohibition, the other side we have clear action of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. And you will be able to put this into perspective. Most of the time, he sat down and drank, and on few occasions, he stood up. Now, ulama, they give and label these ahkamat. They say, for example, if you stand up and drink without any reasoning, then it will be considered makruh tanzihi. Because makruh has two types. One is tahrimi, which is almost haram, you'll be sinful. And one is tanzihi, which is against the adab. And look at this, why? They say that, subhanallah, anything which is related to health issues, and then Prophet ﷺ forbids and prohibits, that is going to be nahi tanzihi. Now, standing up and drinking has to do with my health. And ulama, they say, because of it, you drink a lot, and because of it, your liver can have many problems. And number three, it is against the adab and etiquette. So whenever prohibition comes for such things, right, like Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam has mentioned, don't eat burnt food, and don't eat hot food, because it resembles Jahannam. So that is also nahi, prohibition, but it's tanzihi, because if you eat hot food, you're going to burn your mouth, you're going to burn your tongue, and it's not good for your stomach. So it's health issues, right? And also the adab of it. So this nahi, the hukam that we derive from it is going to be tanzihi, makruh tanzihi, which is disliked. Understand that? Okay. Similarly, standing and drinking without any valid reason and making it a habit is going to be considered makruh tanzihi. But for example, right now we have fountain here, and you have no cup here, and you're drinking while standing. Oh, you should. Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam did so. Okay, or perhaps there is no place to sit. Everywhere is wet, right? And you just stand and drink. That's okay, but make sure you don't make it a habit. Do not make it a habit. So that's the first hadith. Now, other thing is, here ulama mentions shariba min zamzam wa huwa qa'im. He drank zamzam while he was standing. This hukam also ulama mentions is particular with zamzam. In normal situations, if you don't have zamzam, that is the hukam. But for zamzam, it is mustahab to do so while standing. mustahab. Why? There is a hadith of Ibn Abbas radiallahu ta'ala anhu, and also the hadith which we are going to cover from Ali radiallahu ta'ala anhu, that he saw Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam doing so, and then Prophet sallallahu he said that I saw Prophet sallallahu before drinking Zamzam, he said Bismillah, and then he drank in 3 sips, and then he was standing, and at the end he praised Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and then he said that make sure you do this. Why? Because you satiate yourself with Zamzam, and this distinguishes between the munafiq and a believer. Because only believer can satiate himself or herself with Zamzam. And you should stand and drink so the whole body can absorb the water Zamzam. So the barakat of Zamzam is achieved with your whole body can achieve it and attain it and gain it. That's the reason. Okay? Now we're going to understand also Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam drank wudu, the leftover of wudu as well, while standing. That is also one of the times that Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam stood up, standing up, and he drank. Now, remember, Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam had a measure utensil, and only a particular amount of volume of water could contain in it. Okay? And the leftover was very little. Nowadays we have fossils, right? Now, if you make wudu and drink water from there, that's not the sunnah. Okay? Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam would make wudu, and then whatever a sip or two was left over, he would drink it, so it's not going to waste. And also he could have the barakat of the wudu, of the leftover of the wudu. Not the musta'mal, not which is already used. You can't drink that, right? That is musta'mal. We're talking about any leftover from the wudu. So anytime you're using a bucket, and you have little water, and you made wudu perfectly according to sunnah, and a sip or two is left over, you drink it while standing, you will be following the sunnah, but not from the fossil. Why he did that while standing? Again, one of the reasons, because the ground was wet. Right? He couldn't sit down and drink. That's one of the reasons. Number 2, again, same illah and reasoning, because of the barakah. So your body can absorb all the barakat of this leftover of the wudu water. Now be clear? Inshallah. Second hadith. وبه قال حدثنا قتيبة بن سعيد قال حدثنا محمد بن جعفر عن حسين المعلم عن عمرو بن شعيب عن أبيه عن جده قال رأيت رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم يشرب قائما وقاعدا. Now this hadith is narrated by Amr ibn Shu'ayb from his father, he from his grandfather. He says, I've seen the Messenger sallallahu alayhi wa sallam drinking water while standing and drinking water while sitting. Both he saw Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. So today we make such a big deal, the one who stands and drinks, and then we label haram, haram. No, calm down, right? We gotta know the sunnah. Because we're so far from the Sunnah and Quran, we don't know the hukam. So if you see anyone standing and drinking, don't cut them off right away. Oh, that's not Sunnah. Well, perhaps he has an injury in the knee, cannot sit down. Perhaps there is another reason. If there is no reason, then inshallah. However, if you are a father, if you're a mother, if you're a teacher, you can reprimand. You can rebuke. Why? For tarbiyah purposes. But anyone else doing it, let them alone. Leave them alone. Because Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, he drank while sitting down more often, but also he drank while standing up as well. Got it on, inshallah. Next hadith is وبه قال حدثنا علي بن حجر قال حدثنا ابن المبارك عن عاصم الأحول عن الشعبي عن ابن عباس رضي الله تعالى عنه عنهم قال سقيت النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم من زمزم فشرب وهو قائم. Now this is almost as the first hadith, and this hadith is also narrated by Ibn Abbas radiallahu ta'ala anhu. Imam al-Tirmidhi rahimahullah ta'ala, he's bringing these narrations again and again repeatedly to emphasize upon the point that this happened, because perhaps it wasn't known within the communities that this also happened, so he's repeatedly bringing these narrations. Now what is it? The translation of it is, I gave. So first one, that indeed he drank, right? So he just narrated. But this hadith emphasizes more that actually I was the one who was serving Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. And this was Hajjat al-Wada, because during the time of Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, Zamzam water was not available in Medina. So if he's drinking it, it must be Hajjat al-Wada when he came to perform Hajj. So I gave the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam some Zamzam water, and he drank it while he was standing up. Next hadith. وبه قال حدثنا أبو كريب محمد بن العلاء ومحمد بن طريف الكوفي قال أنبأنا ابن الفضيل عن الأعمش عن عبد الملك بن ميسرة عن النزال بن سبرة قال أتي علي رضي الله تعالى عنهم بكوز من ماء وهو في الرحبة فأخذ منه كفا فغسل يديه ومضمض واستنشق ومسح وجهه وذراعه ورأسه ثم شرب وهو قائم ثم قال هذا وضوء من لم يحدث هكذا رأيت رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم. Now, this hadith is narrated by Nazzal ibn Sabah. He reports that أتي علي رضي الله تعالى عنه because, now kuz is a clay jug which has a large mouth. Okay, clay jug with a wide mouth. A clay jug of water was brought to Ali radiallahu ta'ala anhu, a man of water, وَهُوَ فِي الرَّحْبَةِ, and while Ali radiallahu ta'ala anhu was in Rahba. Rahba means courtyard of a masjid. And during that time, Ali radiallahu ta'ala anhu used to be Kufa. And he would sit there in the courtyard, and people would come with the questions, and he would give the judgments and verdicts, and he would also give lectures and durus and halaqat, just like this. So this was the courtyard that he was sitting. فَأَخَذَ مِنْهُ كَفًّا, then he took a handful of water from that container, okay, which had a large mouth. فَغَسَلَ يَدَيْهِ, he washed his hands. وَمَضْمَضَ, and he rinsed his mouth. وَاسْتَنْشَقَ, and he cleared his nose, rinsed his nose. وَمَسَحَ وَجْهَهُ, and he wiped his face, arms, and head. Then he drank the remaining water while standing. And he said, this is the purification of the one who has not broken his wudu. This is the wudu for the one who has not broken his wudu. This is how I saw Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam do it. Now, it seems like he was either refreshing the wudu, because this hadith doesn't mention about washing the feet, right? Have you noticed? Does it mention about washing the feet? Or perhaps the narrator, he forgot to mention about washing the feet. But this hadith is explicitly mentioned that he himself is explaining that this is the wudu for the one who's still in the wudu, in the state of wudu. So if you want to just refresh your wudu, this is what you do. Now, if it is after breaking the wudu, it doesn't make sense. So obviously that is gone out of the discussion. Now, because obviously you've understood najasat haqiqiyya and najasat hukmiyya last week. in the family name. What is najasat haqiqiyya? Or najasat hukmiyya haqiqiyya, which can be seen, hukmiyya, which can't be seen, right? So, which can be seen, it has to be washed, right? Which cannot be seen, there's a particular way to purify yourself. So basically, when you are in the state of wudu, you don't have to purify yourself because you are already pure. But you're just pretending to do the same thing again. Just to wash, and perhaps you are in the state of wudu, but you're walking barefoot. What happens? Dirty. So you just go and wash your feet. Right? This is called, there's another concept of wudu as well, which is called mini wudu. Do you know mini wudu? Anyone? What is mini wudu? Go ahead. That is mini wudu. What is it? Washing your hands and rinsing your mouth. Or even washing your face. That is mini wudu. And this is what you do before eating and after you're done. Got it or no? Sometimes the word wudu is used for it. But that is linguistic wudu. That is mini wudu. And the literal wudu is the wudu when you are in the state of impurity. Remember the two types of impurities? Sometimes you need a ghusl, sometimes you need wudu. Okay, not the linguistic one, the literal one. And this is how you purify. So here he is in the state of wudu, so just doing mini wudu. Okay? Now, he is saying that he will wash his face, arms, and head. Then he drank the remaining water while standing, and said, "This is a purification of the one who has not broken his ritual wudu. This is how I saw Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam do it." However, there is another hadith which Mullah Ali Qari rahmahullah ta'ala, he mentions that hadith also mentions about feet as well. So basically this hadith talks about if you are in the state of wudu and you just want to refresh your wudu for extra reward and hasanat and ajr, it is preferable to do so. In fact, it is sunnah to do so. I don't know. Sometimes we're so lazy, we think that we are in the state of wudu, just pray 5 salah. That's okay, permissible. But it is more virtuous that if you are in the state of wudu, you renew and refresh your wudu. But remember the condition. Does anyone know the condition? When can you renew and refresh your wudu? And when it is not allowed? Anyone? Yes, sir. When you make wudu and you haven't done any worship of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala with that wudu. Nawafil, sunnah, recitation of Quran, etc. If you haven't done any of those and you are still in wudu, you are not allowed to refresh your wudu, because that is going to be considered waste of water. Got it or not? Okay. Last hadith and then inshallah we'll make it short tonight. Inshallah. This hadith, وبه قال حدثنا قتيبة بن سعيد ويوسف بن الحماد قال حدثنا عبد الوارث بن سعيد عن أبي عاصم عن أنس بن مالك رضي الله تعالى عنهم أن النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم كان يتنفس في الإناء ثلاثا إذا شرب ويقول هو أمرأ وأروى. This is relevant to us. This is important hadith. The translation of this hadith is Anas bin Malik radiallahu ta'ala anhu, he narrates what the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam would drink from a vessel. Now, just to understand this hadith, the literal meaning, if you do literal meaning, this is how the literal meaning sounds. When the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam would drink from a vessel, he would breathe into it 3 times. This is the literal meaning of it. But this is not what it means. Okay, it doesn't mean that he would take his breath in utensils. Okay, now this is one thing to understand. This is the literal translation, which means that he would blow into it and he would drink. Now, however, in Bukhari and Muslim, if you take the literal meaning, okay, the apparent meaning, That is, again, contradicts with another hadith, which is mentioned in Bukhari and Muslim. Naha an yutanaffasa fil anam. Prophet ﷺ prohibited to breathe into the vessel while drinking. So look at this hadith, look at that hadith, contradiction. How do we solve this contradiction? We do tatbiq. We figure out what is the issue. Okay. So the issue is with the translation, with the word tanaffus. Tanaffus in Arabic can be used in many meanings. One of the meaning is to breathe into the utensil. And one of the meaning of tanaffus is just to breathe. One of the meaning is while you had a sip, and then after that you take a breather. That is also one of the meaning. That is what it means. So this is how you're reconciling between these ahadiths. Now, there are other hadiths with more detail. Now, which is not mentioned in Shamile Muhammadia. That hadith is أن النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم كان يشرب في ثلاثة أنفاس. That indeed Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, he would drink water over the course of 3 breaths. 3 breaths. Whenever he would drink water, he would one sip, he would take a breather. Second, again, third, this is sunnah. وَإِذَا أَدْنَى الْإِنَاءِ إِلَى فِيهِ. Number 2, when he would bring the vessel close to his mouth, سَمَّ اللَّهِ, he would say the name of Allah, Bismillah, every time. Now, first time, before here, Bismillah. Sip, take a breather, again, Bismillah. Again, take a breather, again, Bismillah, and drink. That's the sunnah of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Now he says, وَإِذَا أَخْرَهُ حَمِدَ اللَّهِ. He says, when he would take it away, now coming back, first time, like this, he would say, Alhamdulillah. So 3 times. Bismillah, 3 times, Alhamdulillah. Okay. Now he says, يَفْعَلُ ذَلِكَ ثَلَاثًا. And he would do this for 3 times. Bismillah 3 times, and Alhamdulillah 3 times. And Imam al-Bayhaqi rahimahullah ta'ala, he mentions, أنه نهى رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم عبد نفسا واحدا. Prophet صلى الله عليه وسلم forbade and prohibited to drink water or anything in one gulp. In one sip, everything is gone. Now, listen to this. وَقَالَ ذَلِكَ شُرْبُ الشَّيْطَانِ. Prophet صلى الله عليه وسلم says, this is how shaitan drinks. This is how shaitan drinks. Now, they will move shaitan. Everything shaitan does is subhanallah opposite, and subhanallah, it's ajib, it's wrong all the time. But however, nowadays, we are also having competitions. Even we see it in the masajid. Like, youth programs are happening, and competition is happening, eating competition, who can eat fast, who can drink faster. What is this? Basically, we're saying who can be the best shaitan. So look at this hadith. وَقَالَ ذَلِكَ شُرْبُ الشَّيْطَانِ. And this is how shaitan eats. So these are not basically, apparently it seems fun, but it's against the adab, it's against the sunnah. Anything which is against the sunnah, how can you have fun with it? Right? So these are the things that we have to ponder over and think about. Anyhow, as one of the hadiths, Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam says, Al-anatu min Allah wal-ajalatu min ash-shaytan. Taking things easy, doing things calmly is from Allah, and doing things with hastiness and rushing things is from shaitan. Now, and competition and eating and drinking, and perhaps we choke. You listen to this. Anyone, ulama mentions, anyone who drinks water in one gulp and he chokes and dies, perhaps, the book? Anyone? That's it. He's a sinner. He dies while sinning. He has done zulm upon himself. Subhanallah. So anything we do it with calmness. However, فَاسْتَبِقُوا الْخَيْرَاتِ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala now, this hadith tells us, take everything easy, calmly. The other hand, Quran Allah mentions, فَاسْتَبِقُوا الْخَيْرَاتِ, rush towards the khair. So now the ulama, they reconcile. To initiate a goodness, you have to rush. You have to rush. Meaning it's salah time, you rush. You make it to masjid. But when it's time for wudu, now once you start that action, you do it very calmly. Right? You're thinking, washing hand, am I doing it properly, according to sunnah, whatever. And once you come to the masjid, now when you start the salah, to start the salah you rush, but once you have started the action, that action has to be done with calmness, with concentration, with tawajjuh, with khushu, with khudu. This is what, and also ulama mentions that if you drink in one gulp, there is many problems, perhaps liver problem and many others. Now, what is the hukam of drinking in one gulp? It's makruh, almost makruh, and makruh tahrimi according to some of the ulama, because the prohibition is explicit, clear. However, some of the ulama, they also say it is okay to drink in one cup. Depends upon how much water it is, right? So it depends upon the situation. If you have one sip of water, you don't have to drink it in 3 sips. Just drink it, right? But if you have a jug, right, and then the whole jug, that's wrong. But still, we try to abide by the first qawl, which is 3 sips. You know the situation. What about breathing into the vessel? What is the hukam? So it's makruh, and some even consider it makruh tahrimi. Why? Because you're polluting water. Subhanallah, you're drinking, breathing into it. If you give it to someone else, they're going to say, Jazakallah, don't need to, right? So that's makruh tahrim as well. Also, don't drink while you have morsel in your mouth. That's also going to pollute water, right? You have the dharrat, the partial of your food in the water, right? Trying to drown and trying to swim, and you give that water to someone else and there's nothing. So that's also makruh to do. So this is why ulama mentioned, even before drinking water, you need to wipe your lips and make sure there's nothing in your mouth, okay? And this is why they also say, when you drink water, make sure the edge of the glass or the cup is resting on the lower lip, not the upper lip, just resting, and then you pour water. Make sure your tongue is not touching the water. This is all adab and cleanliness in terms of drinking, right or no? Now also, don't put the edge of the cup into your mouth, and make sure if that edge is broken, there's a hadith that make sure you don't use that glass, or if it is glass, whatever that is, because you can hurt yourself. That is also makruh to do so. So these are some of the hadiths. Half of the chapter is done, alhamdulillah. 5 more hadiths. I could have completed it, but I think after a long time, it's been 4 weeks almost, traveling here and there. So inshallah, I think that's enough to get us going, inshallah. Inshallah, we'll slowly increase our hadiths and lesson. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to give us ability to act upon these hadiths and the teachings of Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Wa sallallahu